Prick up your ears.
The sound of DTM.
My car sounds like music to my ears.
My favorite sound when the car is leaving the pits.
My favorite sound, the cheering of the fans.
Crank it up.
My favorite sound? The silence before the lights go green.
Full blast.
Downshifting from full speed. When I rev up my engine to its absolute limit. Too close to cool. Cheering on the podium.
Be aware.
It's gonna be loud.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Nürburg Ring. It is the 7th race weekend here in the DTM season and it is race 2. And the man who is still at the moment second place in the championship is Robert Wickens. However, Robert, you had such a fantastic season and then coming here to the Nürburg Ring, yesterday was not your day. This morning all of a sudden your car stopped in free practice and now qualifying in P17. What is the problem?
Yeah, I wish I knew. We just can't seem to catch a break sometimes. I mean, we've had a lot of bad luck this year, a lot of fortunate opportunities as well, but today's not going to be easy, 17th. Yesterday already wasn't easy, but we just have to see what we can do and hopefully try to score as many points as possible.
Right, well, best of luck. And now before we have a look at the race today, we're going to have a look back at yesterday's race.
And as the lights went green, we bring you the summary of race 13, and what a race it was. Marco Wittmann then doing everything he needed to do to make sure his car was P1 as they went through turn number 1. Always a pinch point here at the Nürburg Ring. All the cars through turn 1 relatively safely, which is not always the case. We're on board here looking at Robert Wickens as he's trying to make up as much as he possibly could in terms of point-scoring opportunities for him. Eduardo Mortara and Jamie Green, of course, also very, very interested in their points haul. A big, big lock-up from Timo Glock, but he made it work as he went around the outside of Lucas Auer through turn 1. Despite every effort Jamie Green threw at Tom Blomqvist, he couldn't get past, so Eduardo Mortara was going to have a go, and this was Maxime Martin on Robert Wickens. So Jamie Green then mired in that battle, and getting oh so close to the Mercedes ahead of him now. Eduardo Mortara, despite his best efforts to get on terms with Tom Blomqvist during the course of the race, was just not able to match the BMW pace. And Jamie Green was fending off, and well, a little tap into the Daniel Juncker-Deyer car sent him out onto the runoff area. So Glock and Spengler absolutely side by side as they exited turn number 11. A move there from Timo Scheider on Gary Paffett, which was never really on, and that caused a drive-through penalty for Timo Scheider, and just ahead of him taking his drive-through was Bruno Spengler. Marco Wittmann, though, did not put one foot wrong across the entire race, and with Eduardo Mortara not able to get on terms with Tom Blomqvist, it was only right and proper that the place that Jamie Green had given to him was given back, as Marco Wittmann celebrated another victory as he crossed the line and took the checkered flag, and of course his points haul was benefited. Marco Wittmann then was the star of yesterday, and he's with Verena now.
Yes, I'm here with the star of yesterday and the star in the championship, because you've got 155 points, that means 35 points ahead, and you're starting in P2 today. Also, your main competitors all the way in the back, so you've got to have a pretty confident feeling about today.
Yeah, pretty much. The qualifying was good, and we're starting from the first row again, so it's pretty nice to have 2 consistent qualifying results, which is not always the case in DTM. And yeah, I hope for a good race. Let's see how the start will be, who is getting better from the way Lucas or me. And yeah, I hope for a good race and a good result.
But are you really as calm as you seem?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right then, you go for it. Back to you.
Farina then having a calming influence on Marco Wittmann. As we look at the tense-faced Paul de Resta, who has got to try and make it work from P15. A lot of work for Paul de Resta to do, who of course is in P5 in the championship, but some work to do for Paul de Resta. Here's the grid in full for you then. The front row, pole position, Luca Sauer, Marco Wittmann. Then the points leader goes from alongside him, P2. Then it's Bruno Spengler and Tom Blomqvist. 2 BMWs there doing a great job on that row. Augusto Farfus, his best qualifying, and Eduardo Mortara going from P6 right alongside him before we see Jamie Green and Miguel Molina, P7 and P8. Daniel Juncker-Deyer is P9, and Matthias Ekstrom rounds out the 5th row of the starting grid for the longer race, which sees Gary Pafford and Felix Rosenqvist at Mercedes row on row 6. Timo Glock and Nico Muller, P13 and P14. Then we find Paul de Resta and Timo Scheider. Robert Wickens then second in the points, but 17th on the grid with Christian Vitoris alongside him, P18. Then we find Maxime Martin and Mike Rockenfeller. Antonio Felix da Costa is P21. Martin Tomczyk goes from P22, and rounding out the back of the grid, it's Maximilian Gertz and Adrian Tombe. The pole sitter is Luca Sauer, and he's with Farina.
I'm here with a birthday boy. First of all, congratulations, happy birthday. Now, you were pole setter here last year, yesterday technically, today again. Are you finally gonna be able to get your birthday present here today?
Yeah, let's see. Will be a long race. We are bloody heavy, and there are 4 BMWs behind me. Will be difficult, but I give my best.
Bloody heavy, but I'm sure you're gonna push bloody hard. So best of luck, and back to you.
Well, apologies for the fruitful language. Matthias Ekstrom then going from P10 for the Audi driver Matthias Ekstrom. He's there, as you can see, with Dieter Gass, who is the head of Audi's DTM efforts. As we look at Daniel Juncker-Deyer, who was so unceremoniously dumped out of the race yesterday. A reasonable qualifying from the Spaniard. He is going from P9 on the grid. So just into the first few rows. What can Daniel Juncker-Deyer do from there? Miguel Molina, who joined us at dinner last night and was entertaining company. He will be going from P8. He's 122.948. Gives him P8. And Dieter Gass, as you can see, making time for all his drivers on the grid and wishing them well ahead of the race. Jamie Green, who's on 119 points and is P3 in the points charge at the moment, goes from P7, and British driver will be hoping for good things potentially from P7. He has Eduardo Mortara, who is P4 in the championship, just ahead of him, P6, and there indeed is the Eduardo Mortara. Confirmation of that P6, 122.918 for the number 48 car. Eduardo Mortara is 7 points behind Jamie Green in the points tally. Now, Augusto Farfus has had really a season to forget, but actually in qualifying he has put it on P5, and it's a 122.898 for Augusto Farfus then. And the number 18 BMW. Tom Blomqvist was of great support yesterday to Marco Wittmann, and can also potentially help him today. And he goes from P4, does Tom Blomqvist. Settled into the car, ready for the off of this race. Big crowd here to enjoy the DTM race this afternoon, the longer race of the two with the mandatory pit stop. So we are looking forward to the race. 3.629 kilometers at Nurburg Ring circuit, and it's Auer and Wittmann on the front row. It's short sprint circuit relative to the circuit availability here at the Nürburg Ring that the DTM uses. There's lots of different tarmac where it's been repatched in places around the track, but it hasn't had a full resurface for a jolly long time. 11 turns, 7 right and 4 left. Alongside me, to my right, is from the motorsportarchive.com, Leo Gorman, as we look at Bruno Spengler here. Good qualifying from him, P3.
Absolutely good qualifying from Bruno and all a lot of BMW drivers. And if you actually look at this grid, the way it's laid out, it's almost two separate chunks. You've got Auer leading the qualifying run from Mercedes in P1 with his 1:22.728, but then following him, Wittmann, BMW, Spengler, BMW, Blomqvist, BMW, Farfus, BMW, and then you get a trio of Audis, two of which, as you said a few moments ago, are actually championship chargers in Mortara and Green.
Okay, Dieter Gas is down there now, and he'll reveal all of Audi's strategy, I hope, to Verena.
I'll try to figure that out. So Dieter Gas, yesterday you said it's all about collecting points in the championship. Your best men, Mortara and Green, are in 6 and 7. But quite frankly, isn't it now all about getting ahead of Wittmann in regards to the championship? So what is the strategy?
Yeah, at one stage, yes. I think yesterday's result was not so bad, finishing 3 and 4. The problem was that Marco was still in front, obviously. Yes, he increased the gap. Today, similar situation. What makes it even worse is that there are a few BMWs around, basically, which we first have to get past in order to get Marco. So that will be a massive uphill challenge. But we never stick our head in the sand, and we will fight until the very moment. Luckily, today is the Sunday race with some pit stops. So in terms of strategy, we can do something, and I really hope we have the race pace so that we can improve our positions.
Right, well, best of luck, Dieter Gas. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Well done, Verena. So we know how Dieter Gas is thinking about the strategy. Of course, it's going to be jolly hard work for Eduardo Mortara and Jamie Green, because Marco Wittmann has got Spengler, Blomqvist and Farfus behind him.
You know who it's even harder work for?
Yeah, of course, Robert Wickens. He's got to do it from all the way back there, P17. But what he has got, perhaps, that may help him, is a few Mercedes drivers littered ahead of him.
Yes, he does, and there is going to be also the other battle. There's going to be the Audi drivers probably battling with the BMW drivers, which may create other tangents in this race. Wickens may be forced into an extreme strategy in this race to kind of take him out of kilter, and maybe that could be pitting very early to get him clear air at the back of the grid, or maybe he'll stay out long on this run and then have a late pit stop and then a very short charge on new tyres at the end of the race.
Because a potential benefit that he will have is the fact that he got virtually no running in free practice this morning, and I'm thinking about tyre and tyre wear. Virtually no running in free practice this morning. Only did a couple of runs in quali. BMW's head of DTM is Jens Marquardt, and it's his turn now with Verena.
And he's got to be happy, because this morning, speaking to you, you said you'd be happy if you have 3 BMWs in the top 10. Do you remember?
Yep.
But in fact, you have 4 BMWs in the top 5. And Marco Wittmann, quite frankly, in a good position to win a second championship title.
Well, yeah, but now we have 1 hour of race. And we have Lukas Auer on pole position. So there is an hour of work for the guys. With a pit stop and everything, a lot can happen, so we need to be concentrated. And I think the race speed of Audi will be also very significant. So I think it's going to be a tight and interesting race, and looking forward to it. Starting very good in the 4 cars in the top 5 never is a bad thing, but still we gotta really do the job, and that's what I think the guys are focused now.
Best of luck for the race. Thank you very much, Jens Marquardt. And now the race is about to get on, so back to you.
Cheers, Verena. Thanks very much. With 30 seconds from the cars being released then on their formation lap. So, yeah, back to what I was saying about Rob Wickens. Yeah, he hasn't done as much running as some of the other drivers, and therefore, does that give him any form of benefit and any form of advantage? I suppose it's outweighed by the disadvantage of not having the data that he would have collected.
It's more the kind of data that he would have collected today, because the weather conditions, it is slightly cooler. There's a lot more of a breeze today as compared to yesterday's running. But whereas Robert did lose out a bit this morning by only having a 1 short run in FP3, he did do the practice sessions yesterday, he did do a qualifying, he did do the kind of sprint race. but he's still shy of what the other drivers around him have picked up, and it's going to be a bit of a struggle. And I think if I were Robert, it's going to be a hard charge, and maybe, as I said a few moments ago,
an extreme
strategy. Yes.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with Robert Wickens, because, of course, that will be a decision not only, of course, chosen and influenced potentially by Robert Wickens, but also the HWA team. They will have looked at that, and they will have figured out the best thing that they can possibly do. And let's bear in mind that could change over the early stages of the race. It really rather depends on what Robert is able to achieve from the start of the race.
The other aspect as well, Dave, is of course with our on pole, Mercedes have actually got added weight.
Yes, they have, and they're running at 11.35. BMW's 11.17.5 and 11.10 kilos for Audi.
To be fair, that makes sense to a degree, where you have the Mercedes on pole, they get a little bit of extra weight. Then it's from BMWs, and Audis are only able to do P6 and P7, and they've gained a little bit of a weight break. But then you have the guys like Wickens and Di Resta, who are way back in the grid, who are not going to make that benefit. They have an additional weight, but a lower grid position.
The argument would be they have the opportunity to do the same time as Lucas Au. And of course the weight system is vastly superior this year to that we had last year. So through the NGK chicane they go then. As I mentioned, it's 11 turns, 7 right, 4 left, 3.629 kilometres, the circuit length here. It's a smooth and flat surface, but you'll see there are very different colours of tarmac on various parts of the circuit where it has been patched up as we go into the garages. And there's Uli Fritz, then the head of Mercedes-Benz DTM effort, and he knows that he's got one of his drivers on pole position. Equally, he knows he's got his best championship charger too far back on the grid, really.
I think he also knows he's got some BMWs surrounding Lucas on pole.
Well, Lucas has really got to nail it, hasn't he? It is effectively his third pole position here at the Nürburg Ring. He set the fastest time yesterday, but there was a totting up procedure with regards to warnings, and unfortunately at the Moscow Raceway, so we hear him into his grid box.
Good luck and keep cool.
And there he is into his grid box. There's Marco Wittmann, as I was saying, under the totting up procedure. He had had 3 warnings, therefore had to take a grid penalty for yesterday's race. Jens Marquardt in the BMW garages then. Stefan Reinhold right alongside him, and there's Dieter Gass and Wolfgang Ulrich, and also Hans-Jürgen Abt. Then you can almost see the tension on the faces, can't you? As the race is about to get underway. So all cars into their grid boxes then. Medical car pulls up to the rear. There's the green flag from the marshal. The lighting gantry is to the left of your screen, and stand by, because when 5 lights go out, we will be away and racing now. Let's do it. Here comes Lucas Au then. Can he outblock Marco Wittmann? Yes, he can. So it's Au, Wittmann, then it is Spengler, Blomqvist, Eduardo Mortara already having a go around the outside into turn number 1. Can he get ahead of Augusto Farfus? Yes, he can. But Lucas Au, what a great start from him. He's done everything he needed to do. Timo Glock has gone round in the back of the picture. But there is Lucas Au, who is leading the race. Jamie Green also trying to make moves as well. He goes right alongside Tom Blomqvist there.
I think Blomqvist is the driver who probably lost out the most there after what was a solid start, but others around him getting very, very good launches, including, as you said, Lucas Au and Eduardo Mortara.
So Mortara then is making great moves. Of course, he's P4 in the championship. Jamie Green, who is higher up in the championship order, is a couple of places behind him. But Lucas Au then did everything that he needed to do to convert that pole position into P1. We're on board with Tom Blomqvist now, who's following Jamie Green, as you can see. Incident in turn 1 is under investigation. You see that on your screen right now as they head up towards the NGK chicane then. Absolutely fly the cars through here. Lucas Au goes through, so too does Wittmann and Spengler and Mortara, then Farfus, and then Jamie Green and the rest of the pack come through. No one having a go at an overtake there at the moment, but rest assured they will at some point. And just keeping an eye on where everyone is and what progress Robert Wickens has been able to make. It doesn't look like much, to be honest.
And in context, Blomqvist lost 3 positions from the start line. Paffett, meanwhile, has climbed all the way up to 8th place as Jamie Green goes for a move, and Augusto Farfus coming down to start for the straight and into turn 1. He's on the outside line, but partially blocked maybe by Mortara. Farfus keeps the inside line, forces Green behind, keeps the position. Well done, Augusto Farfus, but Jamie Green's not going to give up that easily as they come through turns 2, 3, and then into 4.
Yes, Augusto Farfus then doing a great job in defence there and running Jamie Green out wide. So wasn't able to take advantage of that. Here comes Lucas Auer then. And there you can see the punctured car of Paul di Resta, who's had to come into the pit lane already. His race effectively compromised right at the very start.
And is this...
Well, he was behind, wasn't he?
Yes.
With the front end, yeah? With the front end.
So you can see the Aeroflex being taken off the cars as well. And Paul di Resta involved in that instant, collecting a puncture and, well, into the pit lane to have that tyre change. So Lucas Auer continuing to lead Marco Wittmann. Last time around it was 6/10 that he had on Marco Wittmann. Then Bruno Spengler is a further 7/10 behind. Eduardo Mortara, interestingly, is 1.9 seconds off Lucas Auer, the leader already. And Augusto Farfus looking good in P5. On board with Marco Wittmann then as he hounds down towards the Lucas Auer car. Lucas Auer doing everything he can to stick his elbows out and make it as wide as possible. I don't think Marco Wittmann was close enough to be able to do anything now. But do bear in mind that Marco Wittmann is going to have the benefit of DRS available to him, which Lucas Auer is not. So Lucas Auer is going to have to defend without the DRS, which does give additional speed. Marco Wittmann is going to have that, and he can use that to try and mount an overtake manoeuvre on Lucas Auer, who's currently leading the race.
Well, Marco Wittmann, he's got Lucas Auer's attention, hasn't he? Another guy who's actually just caught my attention in the last lap or so is Timo Glock, who, despite his spin, actually made it, climbed all the way to the caught up to the rear of the field, has overtaken Mike Rockenfeller, and looked like he was going for quite a high-speed overtake of Adrian Tambay going to turn one. Not entirely sure he made it, but he did put on display of tyre smoke.
Well, Eduardo Mortara we go on board with now, who is running in P4. He has the rear end of the Bruno Spengler BMW ahead of him. Along this back straight behind the paddock then as they begin to climb, and then they turn into the chicane as they all go through. Jamie Green, we were on board with his splitter cam as the incident between Paul di Resta and Timo Glock is going to be investigated after the race. And it was a great shot that we had from that Jamie Green car just a few moments ago. Matthias Ekstrom then is running in P10, and Felix Rosenquist is running P11. So there, Marco Wittmann with DRS assist tries to mount a challenge on Lucas Auer. And he's closer than he was last time around, but Lucas Auer has done enough to be able to defend that position, but he's going to have to do this for lap after lap after lap after lap.
And Auer really having to move into the middle of the circuit to defend the position that time around. Wittmann, he's going to keep charging and charging and charging. Now, interestingly enough, Wittmann did pull some time out of Auer in the first sector last lap, but then loses it again in the middle sector. And then, but gains a small bit again in the final sector, but it's just not quite enough that time around to be able to solidify the move on Auer, even with DRS.
What he'll also be hoping to do is that the fact that Lucas Auer's rearview mirror is full of that Red Bull liveried BMW is provoke him into potentially making a mistake.
That's absolutely correct, Dave. And the other thing that we need to take into context is, as we mentioned in the race yesterday, you cannot just use DRS willy-nilly any time you want, because it is limited to a certain amount of uses in each race.
And Marco Wittmann doubtless will be using quite a few of those in these stages when he's within 4/10 of Lucas Auer to try and mount that challenge. He's going to go for it again now as we start to run downhill at the start-finish straight now. The race leader is Lucas Auer. Second is Marco Wittmann. And Wittmann is as close as he was last time around. Into the inside goes Lucas Auer. But what he does quite cleverly, he occupies the middle of the entrance into turn number 1. And that's exactly where he needs to put that car. And he's doing a good job in defence here.
Exactly as he did last time around, taking the middle of the road, and he's not taking necessarily the optimum line into turn 1 if you're on a qualifying lap, but he's taking a good line to defend his position. He's not taking a corner too narrow, and maybe as we just he's not taking a corner too narrow and maybe losing speed up on the exit of turn 1, nor is he leaving the door open into turn 1 and going too wide to get an optimum exit.
No, and Mortara, who is currently running in P4, is not seemingly able to get close enough to Bruno Spengler at the moment, who is running in P3. There is the back of Peter Mucker, the team responsible for running Lucas Auer. He'll be pretty pleased with his progress thus far as they come up to the chicane once again. It's turns 9 and 10, and they're true turns as well. You really have massive direction change and uphill as well through that chicane. And our Wittmann Spengler, Mortara, Farfus Green, then it's Blomqvist, Paffett, Junkatea and Ekstrom.
That's not a chicane you can just merely drive over, is it? You have to, it sets a hard left, a hard right, and then that takes you into the final corner. Wittmann has dropped a couple of tenths of a second this time around as a personal best lap from Lucas our last time around. Fastest lap of the race so far by Matthias Ekstrom, a 1:24.659. You know, 0.3 of a second faster than the race leader, but Ecky's down in 10th place. Not much he can do to challenge there from there.
No, absolutely not. Keeping an eye on Robert Wickens, who's up to P15, having disposed of 2. He's got Timo Scheider ahead of him now. He's not going to get a gift from Timo Scheider, that's for sure. Nor indeed Miguel Molina, as we see a replay of the start here. And Christian Vettori is very nearly clattering into the wall as he tried to make progress. Start reaction graphic on the left-hand side of your screen. And Eduardo Mortara, that's where, against Augusto Farfus, he did make that work.
And it was in the midst of all that, it was actually a pretty poor start by Molina to drop from P8 to P12 and then down to P13. Mortara on the outside, really, really good effort. He's got plenty of room here as all the cars on the inside of him have to check up that little bit more. Brake earlier. Mortara gives himself a little bit more room on the outside. If you were to measure this on a room,
oh, there was a tap though
with Farfus. But you know, that's what happens with that's Blomqvist.
Tap on Blomqvist from Jamie Green as well, and it was Tom Blomqvist actually. He was sluggish away.
And this is De Resta, and we're going to see contact between De Resta and Glock into turn 1, and yep, there we go. And that's what did the damage to De Resta's car on the left front suspension, and of course it spun Glock around.
Well, it's interesting how that's going to be looked at after the race, because from that angle it looked like Glock turned in on Paul Di Resta. Paul Di Resta had got the gap was there.
We did see just out of the window a moment ago a very downtrodden Paul Di Resta walking into the scrutineering bay.
Right, so he out of the race. So Lucas Hauer continuing to lead then and hold off Marco Wittmann's 4/10 is now up to 5/10. So Lucas Hauer doing a good job in terms of defending.
I think what we're seeing there, Dave, is that, as I mentioned a few moments ago, Wittmann is that bit quicker in the final sector, so he's drawing back up the 4/10. Yes. But in the middle of the lap where Lucas is pulling out, he gets that extra 10th, and it's to and froing because they're actually registering the same general lap times each time around, even though they're faster and slower in separate sectors.
Gary Paffett getting a big slide on there on the entry to the chicane. He's running in P8, Mercedes-Benz driver. He's got Mercedes company behind him with Daniel Junkatea, who is running P9, before we see Matthias Ekstrom, who's in the final points-paying position at the moment for Audi, who's running in P10. So, on board then with the Jamie Green splitter cam. I love this camera. So we're about to go into turn number 1, and once again Lucas Hauer is doing a great job here, and Marco Wittmann has dropped back now. Hauer has increased the margin to 6/10 now. What Lucas Hauer would love to do is to be able to be far enough ahead so that he takes Marco Wittmann out of the DRS zone.
What he's actually done in that lap particularly, he's actually minimised the loss in that final sector. This is one of the little things with the wick changes after qualifying is Mercedes have had the extra 5 kilos added to them, which does not necessarily help them on the straights for obvious reasons. It's excess weight, yes. But they're actually they've got very good balance through the middle sector of this lap, which is corner, which is we're talking the exit of turn 5, then into the fast sweeps in 6 and 7, and through the kink into 8, and then the final sector, which is just really the chicane, final corner, and the start-finish straight.
Up towards the NGK chicane, come the front-running cars. Lucas Hauer then. And all the cars going through. We can see Gary Paffett, who last time around got a real slide on into that. Didn't quite see the Robert Wickens car, which is currently running in P15. So Hauer takes another 10th now. Stealth-like, he's increasing his pace, isn't he? It was a 1:24.9 from Lucas Hauer last time around, as opposed to a 1:25.039. Now, Wittmann was slow there in comparison to Hauer in P1 and Spengler in P2.
There's an additional story here, because Hauer is not in this championship battle. Wittmann, he wants to win a race, he clearly wants to win a race, that's how you get maximum points, but he doesn't necessarily have to put his car into a dangerous position or into an unnecessary situation to take the lead of the race, because Green, he's down in P6, Mortara is down in P4, Wickens is still down in P15. As it stands at the moment, Wittmann is in a position to extend his championship lead, but there's still 48 minutes plus 1 lap of this race to go, and a whole array of pit stops. Anything can still happen in this race, but I think for the moment Wittmann's playing it cool. He still has a while to go.
Mature consideration then.
Your lap without DRS was 1/10 slower than our.
So now we know why.
And again, as we said a few moments ago, you have to temper the amount of DRS you use in this, because it's not unlimited. It's not any lap you're within. It's not any lap you're within 1 second of the guy in front. It's still limited.
Copy. Try to save when you can.
There you go. And that is the instruction from the RNG team to try and conserve the use. So, black and white flag for Antonio Felix da Costa for forcing another driver to leave the track. And Antonio Felix da Costa is currently running down there in P19. In fact, P20 now. Adrian Tombe is P19. So, our Wittmann, the only driver we've lost is Paul Di Resta, sadly. Marco Wittmann continuing to just track Lucas Auer here, and so 5/10 now, the margin between the two of them. Interestingly, Bruno Spengler is a full second behind Wittmann, and Mortara is not as close to Spengler as he would like to be. Then there's Augusto Farfus, who's going to do a great job, presumably, of making sure that Jamie Green doesn't come past.
It's an element of this race. It's quite tense, actually. It's almost as if at the moment they're holding fire, but they're not ready to actually launch their attacks, because they're kind of waiting for maybe the strategies to develop to see what everyone does, and maybe it's in that once the strategies do kick in, that's when we'll see the real moves being made.
It's really interesting to look, because we have on an array of screens that we have in our studio here is a track map with the transponders and all the cars, so we can see exactly where all the cars are on track. And I'll tell you what, they're all pretty close together, actually, relative to the what we sometimes see in a race.
The element when the pit stops do actually begin, I think this is the Antonio Felix da Costa situation.
Maximilian Gertz then, wasn't it?
Yeah, into turn 3 and 4. It's in the exit of 4 then. Over that bollard probably wouldn't have helped.
No, plenty of rubbing between the two of them there, wasn't there? Maximilian Gertz is currently running down there in P21. Antonio Felix da Costa has dropped right to the back of the pack now, P23.
What's interesting though with the pit strategies, it's not just when you actually finally make your pit stop, as we see Götz, Rockenfeller and da Costa continue to battle hard for the final positions on track. It is actually quite a tough battle for 21st, 22nd, 23rd, isn't it?
Well, he is, and Mike Rockenfeller, former champion in there, of course, and he's another one that has not had the season to remember, it has to be said. And there's only after this Nürburg Ring race just 4 more races to come in DTM for 2016. There's Mike Rockenfeller and Maximilian Gertz, and Max then goes for the inside.
That's really stupid, really.
Takes big chunk of Mike Rockenfeller's rear bodywork off at the same time.
Now, what Götz is complaining about is Rocky sent it right down the inside while he's trying to turn in, and it's unavoidable contact as far as Maxi is concerned.
Yes. Right, Jamie Green now on Augusto Farfus has lit up his campaign. We're on board with the splitter cam right into the back almost of the BMW of Augusto Farfus. Up to the inside goes Jamie Green. Augusto Farfus is going to try and hang him out to dry through the next turn. But Jamie Green is really mounting his challenge now to move up to P5. That position held by Augusto Farfus at the moment. Whichever way he goes at the moment, Jamie Green is being denied. This is allowing Tom Blomqvist to come back in as well. It's the battle that is going on for P5 at the moment. There you can see Augusto Farfus definitely using every bit of defensive knowledge that he has. And Jamie Green then brakes hard, and Augusto Farfus gets good traction off the back of the turn. And now Jamie Green will dump the DRS down. in the hope that he can find his way past Augusto Farfus. Comes to the outside of Augusto Farfus, but he's not going to be close enough into the chicane.
Oh, but he does get close, and it's up on the exit of the chicane who will get the best launch out of it. Augusto Farfus still has pretty good balance, still got a... but Green looking down the inside. Meanwhile, Ekstrom in 10th place. He's chasing Junkadea, who's chasing Paffin, who's chasing Blomqvist as they come across the line to begin the 13th lap of this race.
Gary Paffett right on the back of Blomqvist, isn't he?
Absolutely, very, very close. But is he close enough to make a move into turn 1?
Yes!
Yes, he is!
What a
32 laps to go.
Now that is how you can do turn 1 really well.
You got a black and white flag. Just a warning at the moment. Just a warning.
Maximilian Goetz receives a warning then. We can hear that on team radio, but forgive us for talking over it because there is so much action going on here. And Gary Paffett now is right behind Jamie Green. So Jamie Green goes from hunting to being hunted, and therefore is going to have to think about defending here because Gary Paffett is right on the back of Jamie Green now. This is the battle for P6.
What a dummy.
Okay, Paul di Resta is the only driver, sadly, that we've lost in the race so far, and well done to Verena. She's caught hold of him already.
So, Paul, you were second best Mercedes-Benz in the championship, but now, unfortunately, it kind of spoiled your race. It killed your race. The incident with Timo Glock, I guess there was no chance of getting out of the situation. How do you see it?
No, 3-1. I had Scheider on the inside who just wasn't turning. I couldn't turn, and by that point, Timo had committed, and we were all into the first corner. So obviously I didn't want to hit Timo, but there's nothing I could do when Scheider was kind of missing the corner, and I think he'd even locked up slightly. So I need to have a look, but it's unfortunate. But it's going to be a difficult day today where we qualified. But ultimately, that's how you compete for championships, is to be consistent, and today's not what we want.
And right away, you knew there's too much damage to continue driving. And right away, you knew it's too much damage to continue driving because all we saw was where you had a puncture.
Yeah, it's broke the steering on the car, so it was quite a reasonable hit at the wrong angle.
Thank you very much, Paul. Back to you.
Well done, Verena. So it was broken steering, actually, as that did for Paul di Resta. Great to have that information, and well done to you. Right. Augusto Farfus now is rubbing his hands with invisible soap, and the reason he's doing that is because Jamie Green is having to think about defending from Gary Paffett now rather than attacking Augusto Farfus. All this is going on for P5, P6 and P7 at the moment, which is the positions that they are in. Pit stop penalty for Maximilian Goetz for pushing another car. We saw that incident, and there is Jamie Green, and you can see the pit crews are readying themselves, going through their exercises and their warm-up routines. As they do, they take it all very, very seriously, and taking it really seriously up front is Lucas Auer, who's maintaining that 0.6 of a margin over Marco Vettman.
But you know what? That pack out front, the 1, 2, 3, 4, they're hanging close together. I mean, there's only 2.2 seconds across the field as Augusto Farfus dives into the pit lane, the first to do so, and Blomqvist in as well. Farfus, who had actually dropped 5.5 seconds behind fourth place Mortara. This is going to be his move to maybe possibly gain ground on the top 4.
And here comes Wickens as well. You suggested that they might go with an elaborate strategy for Robert Wickens, try something really, really different. They've chosen to bring him in very, very early on, the earliest opportunity. Farfus, Blomqvist in there. Team's doing a good job. It's busy in the pit lane, though. And Augusto Farfus, was he released into the... oh, and Molina stall. No, he doesn't stall. He gets it going again. But was he released? Was Farfus released into the path of Robert Wickens? That could be an unsafe release.
And it's a slow stop for Wickens as well, because he had to be held while Molina was released.
And that's sometimes when the strategy can go wrong for you. So under investigation for unsafe release, as I predicted, Augusto Farfus. So
okay, if you have a
chance,
Jamie, balance, please, balance.
In replay, they let him go, look, Molina, and there was Robert Wickens. And
it's not even that they let him go, it's they let him go while 2 cars were right there.
Well, actually, yes. And we can see it from being on board with Tom Blomqvist.
They will measure that by whether the drivers behind have had to lift off. Is one of the key measurements they'll look at as Paffett dives into the pits from 6th place.
So, who have we seen in so far? Farfus, Blomqvist, Molina and Robert Wickens. Gary Paffett is in now. And here is Paffett.
And it's all very, very key now for these drivers who are in close battles from 5th place onwards. This could be the difference between jumping some of them jumping positions, especially the likes of some of them who had slow pit stops.
Let's watch the team from ART go to work here. What can we get? 2.6, 2.7? No, we can't. It's actually quite slow. 4 seconds. I know we're talking about 4 seconds. It's not slow, is it? But it is relative to what they have been able to do. And here he comes.
Here's Farfus and Blomqvist. Parfit's going to slot in behind him. Or maybe will he just get out ahead of Blomqvist? They're going to go side by side. And they bang doors. And Parfit just gets out ahead, but he's going to be sliding in behind Farfus. Blomqvist is not going to be awfully happy with that. But it's a drop in another position, and that maybe that's just where he had to lift off in the pit lane because of Farfus coming out.
Well, there we are.
Pace is good.
It is Farfus, Parfit and Blomqvist. So, but he had to fight hard to keep that position because of the fact that it was quite slow. In comes Bruno Spengler. It was quite slow in the pits. And that's the difference, the tenths that can be made or saved in the pits with the strategy that's used for the pit stop. Farfus is going to get a 10-second stop and go time penalty for the unsafe release. Now that takes Farfus out of the equation.
And the other aspect, as I said, when they had the unsafe release from Farfus, has Blomqvist also had to slow down going down the pit lane to allow, because Farfus slotted in just ahead of him.
Essentially, yes, you're right, but Farfus's race is over now. It's ruined, isn't it? Because that stop and go penalty he's got to take, and he's got to come into the pit lane to do it. It's going to take an age.
But it's also dropped him back into the Parfit kind of game as well. I know Parfit's ahead, and these are all the things that teams will look at after the race. And unfortunately for Farfus, you're right, it takes him completely out of this game.
Okay, so there is Eduardo Mortara. So as you can see from the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen, if you've got a green capital P illuminated alongside the driver, that means, of course, that they have they've been in and taken their mandatory pit stop. Lucas Auer still doing a great job at that, and he has, whilst all the action has been going on in the pit lane, he's increased his margin to 1.2 seconds. What a great job he's doing.
Great job. I think this probably hasn't actually worked out for Wickens in the end.
He's coming in, they're both coming in, so it's Auer and Wittmann. This could be very, very exciting. So stand by, we'll bring you this.
We are ready.
So they are ready for Wittmann from Team RMG. They will be ready for Mucker for Lucas Auer.
Okay. If possible, try to close the gap to Edo.
So in comes Marco Wittmann. Clock is on. 3.3, we've seen better, we've seen worse. What can they do with Lucas Auer?
Watch out for Auer.
Go, go, go! And by taking 3/10 off, it wasn't a problem for him.
Auer gets out ahead of Wittmann as they exit the pit lane. Now it's Mortara has the temporary lead, but it's going to be a car splitting Auer and Mortara.
But what has happened there, Spengler has overtaken Marco Wittmann because Spengler, of course, came in earlier. So Spengler is now effectively ahead of Marco Wittmann, and he will take the chase to Lucas Auer.
Spengler had a lap in clear air, and that was what that's what Mercedes were trying to do at Wickens, which actually hasn't worked in the end because of the slow pit stop. It's dropped him right behind Molina. Yeah. Wickens is going to be struggling for pace. It just hasn't worked in that end. Wittmann, meanwhile, they're probably going to have maybe some arrangement, possibly, that...
You mean he might be let through? Okay. Eduardo Mortara is then currently leading the race, but bear in mind it is only nominally because Eduardo Mortara, Jamie Green, Daniel Juncker-Deyer, and Matthias Ekstrom, and also Muller and Felix Rosenqvist, none of those drivers have yet taken their pit stop.
To add to actually Edo Mortara was only 2 seconds behind Auer before they actually went into the pits. So a few good clean laps could actually suddenly leap Mortara into contention. We'll see how this goes. He's got a 1:25.0 on that last lap.
Push. We are fighting Mortara virtually.
And there he is, Eduardo Mortara, who we go on board with. In comes Augusto Farfus. Now the reason Augusto Farfus is coming in is because he's got a stop and go penalty. So this has utterly ruined Augusto Farfus's race, despite the fact that he has, and there you go, clock goes on, 1, 2, 3. He's basically got to sit there for 10 seconds, and then he will be released. and his race is ruined.
If ever there was an image that kind of that described Farfus's season, it's probably going to be that.
And that's the reason why. Unsafe release.
And this is where I think Blomqvist has had to lift off to allow Farfus into the gap. And that's what's dropped him, I think, into the arms of Paffett, shall we say.
Okay, here's Farfus back out again then, and all he can do is drive the heck out of that BMW to do the very best that he can for the remainder of this race. Okay, here's Eduardo Mortara. The advantage Eduardo Mortara has now, of course, same as Jamie Green, is they've got lots of clean air ahead of them. They're able to, what are the lap times? 2:28 for Mortara last time round, 3:93, 125s we're talking about for Jamie Green, who we are on board with now with the splitter cam.
It's a risky strategy, Dave, because while you do get the advantage of driving into clean air, you also have to accept there's a counterbalance. Your tyres are going to be a little bit older, a little bit worn.
Yeah, but look at the lap times. I mean, they're not horribly away from those that have come in.
No, but ours just slotted in a 1:24.6, which is the fastest lap of the race so far.
6/10 quicker then, isn't it?
Yeah, so it may, in this instance, it may not have actually worked for Mortara, but he's still going to probably hang it out for a few more laps. We'll see how this develops.
Timo Scheider, we look out there with Christian Vittoris, and there is Eduardo Mortara.
We are matching Edo's lap times, same speed.
So Jamie Green being informed of how quick he is relative to Edo Mortara. They are P1, P2, and Matthias Ekstrom is P3, but they are nominal places because they've yet to go in and do their pit stop. In the meantime, Lucas Auer on P11 has Bruno Spengler, but Bruno Spengler is a little way back from Auer. Auer is doing a good job there, but of course he is coming up against some traffic.
As I was about to say, Auer is going to have the likes of Timo Glock ahead of him, then Adrian Tambay and Martin Tomczyk. He's not necessarily going to get help from any of those guys. They're all BMW and Audi drivers.
Well, he's not going to get help, but equally he shouldn't be ridiculously hindered either. We will see, of course, how these games will play out. Some fantastic imagery there of the Christian Vittoris car. No, it's the Lucas Auer car, and the sparks coming off the front end of the Lucas Auer car.
To aid Auer, Rosenqvist and Tomczyk have actually just pitted out from in front of him. He still has Glock just ahead, but the cars in front that have yet to pit are beginning to thin out. Meanwhile, Auer, 23.5 seconds behind Mortara. Will Mortara be able to keep the lead with that kind of gap? I'm not really convinced.
No. So here is Eduardo Mortara then, despite the fact he's got very, very clear air. His last lap was a 1:25.096. Doing the very, very best he can. Under investigation, an incident between Felix Rosenqvist and Martin Tomczyk. Martin Tomczyk, of course, announcing his retirement from DTM at the end of 2016. This weekend is Edo coming in now. No, he's not. He's staying out there. Eduardo Mortara stays out. So too does Jamie Green, yes. And we have Matthias Ekstrom and Nico Muller following behind. And this is Miguel Molina, Antonio Felix da Costa.
Guts is in there as well, and that was there. We had a brief yellow flag in turn 4, and that was it. That was Antonio Felix da Costa being spun around. Well, actually, no, he lost it all by himself, didn't he?
Is there not a little nerve from Molina?
Close, and meanwhile unsafe. Oh, not just an unsafe release, but a collision in the pits. That's between Rosenqvist and Tomczyk. Rosenqvist looks like he was released into the path of Tomczyk.
Look at this. Tomczyk is nearly spinning him down the pit lane, and they still come out together, look.
I do believe there may be a steward's investigation into that, shall we say.
Well, they are under investigation, but it's extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. Also under investigation, the incident between Antonio Felix da Costa and Miguel Molina, which would suggest perhaps there was a little bit of contact there. So we will see. In the meantime, now, Lucas Auer is getting mired in traffic. Who does he have ahead of him? He has a BMW driver in Timo Glock. Who's right behind him? Bruno Spengler and Marco Wittmann. Lucas Auer needs to dispose of this BMW very, very quickly indeed.
He absolutely does. This is what could lose Auer a lot of time. He's now dropped into the 44s in Sector 1, while Mortara is almost a second quicker in Sector 1 alone in that lap. Glock, will he hold position? No, he gives him enough room. Auer just slips by, but Auer's lost a lot of time in the first 2 sectors of that lap.
And of course, he is not going to hold up Bruno Spengler and Marco Wittmann either. Felix Rosenqvist gets a drive-through penalty for that unsafe release.
And to be fair to Glock, he's actually just pulled into the pit lane anyway, so it's taking him out of contention. Lucas Auer lost 1.4 seconds in the first 2 seconds of that lap.
That's a huge lump to lose, isn't it? So here comes Marco Wittmann on Bruno Spengler. Not going to be too heavy a defence, I wouldn't have thought, from Bruno Spengler, although Marco Wittmann has not gone by. So Auer now needs to really put the foot down, doesn't he? And try and remake that gap back to Bruno Spengler.
The problem for Auer now is he's got Tambay just ahead, only 3 seconds down the road. The gap actually opened up by 1.2 seconds between Mortara and Auer that time around. It's only 24.5 seconds, which is still not enough. He needs maybe a few more seconds, and I think possibly Mortara could run out.
Box this lap.
Right, Jamie Green is being told to box this lap. He's going to be boxing from clean air, of course, because Eduardo Mortara stays out. Jamie Green copies that radio message, and there is Eduardo Mortara, head down, getting on with the job. Looks in the rear-view mirror. Great to have this shot. Jamie Green! Ooh. Whoa, he takes to the banking into the pit lane, very, very nearly touching the Armco.
You don't want to be making that kind of mistake. That's something that would definitely end up in the highlights reel at the end of the season.
So here comes Jamie Green then, and we'll run the clock, I hope, on the Jamie Green pit stop as the Rosberg team go to work. 3 seconds. Right, where is he going to come out relative to Marco Wittmann then? So there you can see on the graphics where Marco Wittmann is.
He's already gone by.
Yeah.
And by a long way, it looks...
Jamie Green and Paffett is... They're going to be side by side through turn number 1. There's contact. Paffett has gone and been spun around.
Jamie Green really keen to defend that position as they came into turn 1. Paffett on the outside, just going for the corner as he normally would. And Green just went into the side of him. How the stewards are going to look at this? Will it be a penalty, or will they who will they judge at fault for this, Dave?
Well, you know, Gary is out there racing, isn't he? Jamie is returning. Now,
I think
that's a really tough one to call, because, I mean, to be fair, you know, Jamie is coming downhill, isn't he? After that, he's
I still don't think they'll look too favourably upon Green for that incident, but that's for the stewards to decide. But meanwhile, it's dropped Paffett. It's dropped Paffett of 4 or 5 positions.
I know. So their confirmation that it is under investigation.
Auer, meanwhile, is actually caught he's caught the back.
Adrien Tambay, as you suggested,
that's
that he would.
Adrien Tambay. Now,
he's got to get past him quickly.
Same situation as with Glock a few moments ago. He could end up losing time unless he actually gets by Adrien quickly.
Yeah, that's what he's got to do. He's got to nail this overtake, hasn't he? So Adrien Tambay then, who's running down there in, well, he's showing us P6 because Tambay is yet to pit, of course. And in comes Felix Rosenqvist to take his drive-through penalty. Just see that from our commentary booth window. But Adrien Tambay and Lucas Auer is what we're focusing on here, as you would expect us to, because what Lucas Auer can ill afford to do is lose a whole bunch of time once again, being stuck behind a car which is effectively not even been in for its mandatory pit stop yet, and therefore Lucas Auer needs to get past Adrien Tambay as quickly as he possibly can.
The other aspect about this is at the back of that train is Marco Wittmann, who's even losing more time. Who's got Spengler in between them, because Wittmann's also going to be racing against Mortara for position in a few minutes' time.
Well, Jamie Green receives a drive-through penalty for his part in that Paffett incident, and here comes Lucas Auer then, still trying to find a way past Adrien Tambay. I did wonder whether Tambay would come in that time, but clearly chooses not to. So Lucas Auer has got to try and do him now going into turn number 1, because Spengler is getting ever closer, and Marco Wittmann is going for a move on Bruno Spengler at the same time as they go into turn 1.
Drive-through penalty, Jamie drives through.
And Marco Wittmann does go through, so now all of a sudden it's the championship leader chasing Lucas Auer down, who wasn't able to get past Adrien Tambay.
And that's interesting. Tombé's doing a very, very good job here for Audi. He's not making a silly defensive move by any stretch of the imagination. He is just kind of placing his car neatly in the middle of the road.
He's in his own race, isn't he?
He's still racing. He has no obligation whatsoever to move out of the way.
So Auer has got to try and find a way past, and now, crucially, Marco Wittmann is right on his tail. So this is exactly what Lucas Auer would not have wanted to happen. So he's got to try and do him now through, but he's not close enough. He's not close enough.
Keep pushing for this lap. We do the drive-through the next lap. So one more lap and then drive-through.
So Tombé comes through. Then it's Lucas Auer. Jamie Green being told to do one more lap before he takes his drive-through penalty. Here's Adrien Tombé. Is Tombé going to... Well, Lucas Auer gets right alongside him here, and on the exit of the Coca-Cola turn, he goes through, but Marco Wittmann is going to do the same. So what this basically means is that Lucas Auer has lost a lot, hasn't he?
He's lost quite a few seconds, actually. Auer is well into the 26s that time around. He's lost a few seconds to the leader, Mortara. Probably not enough yet, because the gap is 26.5 seconds to the leader.
OK, so Auer has finally gone through, but Marco Wittmann has gone through as well, crucially. But in fairness, the pace that Auer has had has been superior to Wittmann's.
Absolutely, so far, yes. Would it be interesting now to see how this develops?
Lap times, Timo.
Be interested to see how this develops over the last stint of this race as the driver's going to wind their way down to the flag.
OK, here it is in replay then. Well, there was a little bit of a touch between the two of them, but it was on the exit of the NGK chicane. To be fair to Tombé, he certainly didn't run him towards the pit entry, did he?
To be honest, actually, I'm not even sure if it was a touch. I think possibly Tombé got a little bit destabilised.
Oh, OK.
He may have gone too far out on the curbs. But either way, it doesn't really matter at this stage. Auer's through, Wittmann's through, and the Championship Charger and Wittmann, he's going for more points over Green, Mortara and Wickens in this race so far.
OK, now, this is very, very interesting because he's coming up against Christian Vittoris, who, of course, is a Muka teammate and a Mercedes teammate as well. And, you know, he will not find it difficult to get past Christian Vittoris.
It's possible...
Marco Wittmann might.
That's true. That is very, very true. It's possible that maybe Vittoris might accidentally lift off slightly, shall we say, as Auer comes up behind him.
What a great stop for Matthias Ekstrom then from the AB team.
And here's the move for Auer to take Vittoris, and now Wittmann slots in behind Vittoris. He's not going to find it as easy to make his way past the Mercedes, but it must be remembered, Vittoris has not stopped yet. He's going to be struggling for grip.
Box, pit stop, pit confirm.
Mortara being told to pit now. What this does, this gives Lucas Auer a fantastic opportunity to get up the road.
We are fighting for position,
And of course, when you're talking about position, you're not just talking about the position with Auer. Wittmann's there as well. They're going to be fighting possibly for any of those places over the podium.
So in comes Eduardo Mortara now. He too, like Jamie Green, runs up onto the curbs, the banking almost on the pit in.
This needs to be a fast stop now from the Audi guys.
Well, they're all prepared and they are ready. In comes Eduardo Mortara, the ABD Sportsline team, standing by. We've got the graphics on the right-hand side of the screen for you, so you can see where Auer and Wittmann are relative to Mortara.
The gap was 26.9 seconds, Dave. Is it going to be enough as Mortara comes out of the pit lane exit? It's going to be very, very, very tight.
3.1. So there goes Auer. And what this has done, because of Wittmann being held at bay by Christian Vittoris,
Mortara has come out ahead of the BMW man. Fantastic strategy from Audi. It may not have got them a lead.
No, it hasn't, but it's got them further up the order, and what it's done is, you know, they've worked very, very hard to look at what's happening out there. They could see what was going to happen with Christian Vittoris, and they went for it then.
But here's the other thing, Dave.
Thank you.
Haha, thank you.
Mortara, fresh tyres. Auer has already done 20 minutes on these tyres. May not sound much, but it's a little bit of extra grip, that little bit of freshness that may give the Audi man an advantage as he charges up behind the Mercedes driver.
Well, he's certainly done some minutes on those tyres, hasn't he? There's Eduardo Mortara.
Remember the pit stop light. Remember pit stop light.
So, Edo Mortara. chase is on to Lucas Auer. Still to stop, Muller and Timo Scheider. So Christian Vettoris then held up Marco Wittmann for as long as he could. Now Christian Vettoris comes in. His job is done, really, isn't it? Timo Scheider is coming in at the same time. Also, Lucas Auer will be buying him a drink, I should think. In comes Nico Muller.
Vettoris and Tambay in this time around for their
everyone will have done their pit stops now, and it's back to the real race order and the race to the checkered flag, which is just 18 minutes away. Where is the blooming time gone?
It's been a frantic race so far, Dave, and you know what? It's going to be a frantic race right to the end.
Oh, no, that's okay.
We've seen very, very close calls in the pit lane today. We're going to see a very, very close call to the end of this race, I think, as Auer's only got a 1.6 seconds gap over Mortara.
Well, there we can see now our race leader. It is Lucas Auer, who started from pole position.
And a personal best from Mortara in that first sector. He's taken a couple of tenths out of his young rival as they come towards the end of sector 2 and the back straight and the little kink as they and approaching now the chicane.
You'll forgive us for not having mentioned the fact that Robert Wickens is down there where P14. No, it won't be P14 because Muller, Scheider have been in, so it's going to be P12, isn't it? So it's out of the points.
He may even, when actually Muller, Scheider, Vettoris, it all kind of works out. It could even be P11, P10.
Yeah, okay.
It's gone, but it's only going to be a point, really, isn't it? Meanwhile, up front, 1.5 seconds. Mortara took a chunk out of. He took nearly 4 tenths out of Auer on that lap alone. It's a personal best. Meanwhile, in the background, Ekstrom, fastest lap of the race.
1:24.274. So Wickens is out of the points. It's P11.
I ask Dave. Paffett had a big spin earlier on. He's P6. How much do you think he's cursing that contact from Jamie Green? He's actually lost quite a lot of time, but he's only 6 seconds behind Spengler.
Now that was the replay of the pit stop that really, really worked for Eduardo Mortara. See Lucas Auer like a speeding bullet down the right-hand side of the car, but crucially, Ben Mortara was out ahead of Wittmann and Spengler.
Yeah, absolutely. But Mortara is just taking little chunks out of Auer each time around. Each little sector, he's getting closer and closer and closer. But there's only 16 minutes and 1 lap left in this race. Is there enough time for Mortara to get to the back of Auer and make a move for the lead of this race?
It's possible, isn't it? But of course, what we also have to factor into the equation here is that as he starts battling with Lucas Auer, so he naturally slows, and that allows Marco Wittmann to get closer to Eduardo Mortara,
who's only 2 seconds behind the second place man.
So there's a lot to play out in the 15.5 minutes of this DTM race that remain.
It's another personal best again from Mortara, taking nearly 3 tenths out of the race leader. He's still not close enough yet, but as I said a moment ago, it's little bits at a time.
So we watch the battle between Lucas Auer and Eduardo Mortara, who is stealth-like, just taking little bits, as Leah said, out of the Lucas Auer lead. Last time around it was 1.2. So there is the Muka car of Lucas Auer. The all-pink machine that leads Eduardo Mortara in P2 at the moment. It's Marco Wittmann is P3, then it's Spengler, Ekstrom, Paffett, Muller, Blomqvist, Ukadea, Molina, and crucially P11. I say crucially because he's out of points, Robert Wickens. So who has Wickens got ahead of him? He's got Molina, but he's 1.5 seconds down on Molina, isn't he?
Yeah, it's Wickens has gained several positions from his P17 on the grid.
What he does have, though, he has ahead of Molina is Daniel Ukadea, who's only 7 tenths. So that might help Robert Wickens, but we are talking about tiny points all, aren't we?
I think this we may very well see. Oh, and it's a move there for Muller on Paffett for 6th place. and we're really seeing the opportunity for more
we
points.
have DRS until the
Now,
end.
all of a sudden, Eduardo Mortara using DRS, which of course Lucas Auer does not have available to him. He does a 1:24.650 compared to Lucas Auer's 1:25.146.
That's half a second, Dave. Half a second in one lap. Mortara is on a charge. He sees the target ahead of him and he's chasing. He's not going to give up until he has an opportunity to move for the lead of the race. And meanwhile, in 6th places, it's Muller. He's gone through Paffett and he's taken 6th place from the Mercedes man.
So it's a question of when, not if, isn't it, that Mortara manages to pass Lucas Auer, certainly based on the pace that we can see at the moment. He's got fresher tyres, he's got DRS available to him, and Lucas Auer has got older tyres and does not have DRS available to him.
Absolutely, and there's an awful lot of elements, but we also saw earlier this race when Wittmann had DRS, he wasn't even able to make those last attempts of a push on Auer. Will Mortara be more aggressive, shall we say, because he's got more to fight for,
of course,
being 4th in the championship?
Well, here's Auer then throwing it through the chicane, and Eduardo Mortara gets yet closer. And you know what? Mortara's almost close enough now to begin to line Lucas Auer up going into turn number 1, the exit, the final turn, which is turn number 11, the Coca-Cola turn. I think Mortara might be close enough this time to have a go at Lucas Auer as they run into turn number 1 now. Lucas Auer puts his elbows out, makes that Mercedes as wide as he possibly can. Mortara goes to the outside, but will he switch back to come on the inside of Lucas Auer? Yes, he does. Lucas Auer now makes the car wide once again and denies Eduardo Mortara just at this moment.
Mortara hesitated a little bit there in turn 1. He was about to turn in tight, but then just seemed to unravel the steering once again and actually lost a little bit of momentum as they were coming through the first corner, and that lost him through turn 2 and 3 as well. And he's back into the position where he's chasing Auer for position at the exit of turn 4. Now into the chicane of turn 5 as they begin to unravel now into the back end of the circuit.
So behind the paddock they will go off the banking one side. Then there is Eduardo Mortara and Lucas Auer, just 3/10 between the two of them. They're out onto the back straight now, and Eduardo Mortara, just look at the focus, the determination in the eyes of Eduardo Mortara as he reels in the Lucas Auer Mercedes-Benz. It's now that it's going to go for it surely, but Lucas Auer defends well and does everything that he needs to do. Now, if he does need to get good traction out, and he does get good traction out. I didn't quite catch that.
I know, it was all just I don't even know how drivers and engineers manage to actually listen to those radio messages most of the
Peter
time.
Mucker looks on.
And we have it here.
9 laps to go.
As Mortara going down the outside, long past Auer for the lead of the race. Auer sticking in there, but has to give up the position. Locks his front tyres as they come into turn 1. Mortara takes the lead of this race.
Well, it was inevitable that it was going to come, and Lucas Auer did everything he could to stop it being done, but it wasn't enough. And Eduardo Mortara now is going to be up the road, isn't he? Because we know he's got the pace. But, of course, what Lucas Auer has now is DRS available to him. If he can keep within. And bearing in mind, Auer won't have used much DRS.
I think possibly, but what Auer has also done is he's locked his tyres quite heavily going into turn 1. I just think he may not necessarily have the final pace for the last few laps. For the last few laps of this race to actually maintain a gap over Mortara.
Try to stay close to Wittmann, close to Mortara.
He's losing ground already, as you can clearly see.
Yes, he is. So to the chicane they come, and Eduardo Mortara then, it took him probably longer than he would have liked to make the pass, but he has made the pass, and we have 10 minutes of race time left plus 1 lap.
What I also believe is, I think if this stays as it is for the moment, this might actually launch
Auer out of DRS.
This might actually launch Mortara into 2nd in the championship as well.
So 1.7 seconds already that Eduardo Mortara is taken out of Lucas Auer. So Auer is, as the radio message said, out of DRS. Right, Bruno Spengler with Matthias Ekstrom on his tail now. So BMW versus Audi.
And interestingly enough, Wittmann doesn't exactly have stellar pace at the moment. He's hitting the 125s, but Spengler is actually just behind him going faster, and he's probably in a situation where he's going, Marco, go faster, go faster, go faster. I've got an Audi on my wing.
Well, And Bruno Spengler is going to have to defend now because Matthias Ekstrom is closing. Matthias Ekstrom running in P5. Bruno Spengler is running in P4. Then it's Wittmann and Mortara ahead. So Eki following in every single wheel track that the BMW bank BMW is making as they head down to the back there. There's Hans-Jürgen Abt, a busy man on the pit wall this afternoon, that's for sure. But Eduardo Mortara then, having done a brilliant job once he got past Lucas Al, was to get out of offering the DRS window to Lucas Al.
Ekstrom's got he's got a lot of pace at the moment. Muller's got an awful lot of pace at the moment. Mortara's got a lot of pace at the moment. The Audis at this late stage of the race are really coming to them.
Now, of course, if Ekstrom could get past Spengler and put the chase onto Marco Wittmann, well, there you can see some of the stats underneath the drivers' names. Oh, and there's contact between Ekstrom and Spengler. Well, Ekstrom does go through. Now, to be fair, just as the contact was made...
Push me from the back.
Well,
yeah, Bruno, we can see. Keep your head down and fight him.
Bruno Spengler straight on the radio.
But it's been reported, so just fight him as much as you can.
I have to admit that was a touch clumsy from Ekstrom because I think he's...
Matthias, change back position. Let Bruno again go.
So you need to swap position. We need to swap position.
Well, Bruno controlled it with opposite lock and drifted it through, so Ekstrom being told to give the position back to Bruno Spengler. In the meantime, Robert Wickens then. Oh. Wow. What? That's Timo Scheider.
That's Scheider, who was involved in an incident with another Mercedes, Gary Paffett, yesterday.
I mean, that look is... I am absolutely amazed. Amazed.
How many now?
I'm speechless.
Do you know what? In the last couple of laps...
Yep, to Wittmann, 2.7.
In the last couple of laps, Mortara has built a 3.6 second lead. Over as I believe this is Ekstrom going after Spengler again into turn 1.
He's given the place back, quite rightly, and now he's going to try and do it in a fair way. I'm still getting over the Robert Wickens, Timo Scheider getting together.
And Eki's through. Eki's through into P4. I think Spengler's probably maybe running out of tyres at this stage of the race, and Ekstrom just found it really easy. But as I said, the Audis at this stage...
Good job, Matthias. Good job. Now we go for Wittmann. We go now for Wittmann.
The Audis just look good. They look very good at this late stage of the race. They are stable, they are fast, they have confidence.
Well, of course, what Ekstrom can do here if he can get on terms with Wittmann and take more points out of BMW, that's going to advantage Edo Mortara.
The only thing going against Ekstrom at that stage...
5 laps to go, all in, and I give you the gaps.
Yes.
Only thing going against Ekstrom at this stage is he's actually lost a lap, obviously, because he had to give that position back to Spengler last time around.
What have we got left? 5.5 minutes plus 1 lap. That was where he gave the position back to Bruno Spengler.
Gap to Wittmann is 2.9, 2.9.
2.9 is a healthy gap, isn't it?
It is at this time, but the Audis look very quick, and Wittmann can't seem to do better than a 25.4, 25.5 at the moment, where in normal pace the Audis are going a second a lap quicker.
The incident between Robert Wickens and Timo Scheider.
No further action.
Extraordinary.
I don't think Wickens is going to be too pleased with that. I think Scheider could have easily avoided that, if I'm to be brutally honest.
Well, there we are. Stewards make the decisions. This is Lucas Auer then, who is P2. There's Wittmann, who is now being chased by this man, Matthias Ekstrom, who is P4 and can really advantage Audi by trying to take Wittmann over the remaining 4.5 minutes plus 1 lap. So there is Marco Wittmann. We are on board with now. Conversations continuing to go on the Abt pit wall there.
Eki's taken over half a second on the first 2 sectors of that lap alone.
Which position is Jamie?
This is Nico Müller on Bruno Spengler.
As I said, the Audis are strong, and Spengler almost seemed like easy meat there for Müller. But is it too late for Eki to have this late charge? And Wittmann, there's not going to be long left, only 4 minutes on the clock. This is a battle for the final spot on the podium.
What we've got to bear in mind, of course, is that the likes of Müller and such like, they stopped later, so they've got fresher tyres, and that is clearly helping, isn't it? Clearly helping there was Bruno was very wide out of the NGK chicane, and Müller was able just to get underneath him.
Spengler looks like he has absolutely no grip whatsoever in the slow speed corners.
Yeah. So we're on board with Edo Mortara then, who has got 5.1 seconds over Lucas Auer. It's then a further 2.3 seconds back to Wittmann. Ekstrom is continuing to...
Which position should you be?
16.
Which of course is great news for Edo.
Gap to Wittmann 2.2, gap to Wittmann 2.2, push.
It's a big ask, you know, because there's only 3 minutes plus 1 lap.
And all the drivers at this time still have DRS available to them. But there's not a huge amount of them are actually in a position to use it at this stage because they're not close enough to the cars in front.
3 laps to go.
So 3 laps for Ekstrom to get on terms.
Gap to Wittmann 1.8, 1.8.
He's taken another couple of tenths out of him, hasn't he?
6 tenths on that whole lot. But you can see there as Eki turns into the first corner now, Wittmann just ahead of him. It was sluggish turning in. It was almost like he had a slight delay. He had to turn in twice to get his BMW into the turn 1 corner. But this is one of those battles. These are the things that actually could mean much over the course of a season. Sometimes championships are won and championships are lost by the overtaking maneuvers, the slight overtaking maneuvers that maybe at the end of the season you don't really think about too much.
Well, Eki, we put the live clock on now, 1.5. It's coming down, but is it coming down quickly enough? I'm not sure. It's only going to be a couple of laps at the end of this one.
Eki's so strong in sector 1.
Wittmann 1.4. We have 2 laps to go, 2 more laps after this. This means you will have at least 1 lap DRS, maybe 2.
So, Eki being advised exactly what he will have, what tools he will have at his disposal as the 2 Red Bull liveried cars get ever closer, but one is a BMW and one is an Audi. It's Marco Wittmann in the BMW, which is running in P3.
2 laps to go. Good job.
And here comes Matthias Ekstrom.
Gap is 1.1. 1.1 means in the next lap you arrive in the DRS.
Right, he's going to have DRS available to him. And Wittmann is going to really have to start to think about defending for the final couple of laps.
And realistically, it's possible Ekstrom might only get a couple of opportunities to do this because he's
maybe only one.
Yeah, possibly only one, and maybe he could get close enough at the end of the back straight, but that's going to be a big ask to take 1 second out of Wittmann on this lap, so that really leaves it to the start-finish straight, possibly on the next lap. Will he be getting close enough to do it? The gap is just over a second as it is, and you can see Ekstrom's just clawing into the gap with Wittmann. It's 7 tenths of a second now. That's 8 tenths in that first sector alone.
So we're watching the Matthias Ekstrom car then.
Next lap will be the last
Ekstrom
lap.
will have DRS for the last
use
lap.
it from the start-finish line onwards and
I'd like to see that printed on a t-shirt.
So here he comes through the chicane then.
It's key that Wittmann gets this last corner right.
So Wittmann then with it all eyes on the rear view mirror. Eduardo Mortara.
What's Mortara doing?
Lap.
No.
I think Mortara thought...
I know. I was just joking with you.
I was just joking with you. What?
I think Mortara thought he was going to get the checkered flag there. He was weaving across the circuit.
But he says on the team radio, I was joking with you.
You want to play, huh?
You want to play? Whoa, what are we seeing? Right, Matthias Ekstrom then on Marco Wittmann.
He's closing in turn 2. Does he have enough to make him move down the inside in turn 3? Not quite yet. Turn 4. He's got so much more grip, it's obvious. He's going to have another option maybe down in the short chute into turn 5 as he exits the 4th corner. This is for the final podium position of this race.
So Matthias Ekstrom then on Marco Wittmann. Wittmann stoic in defence, but Matthias Ekstrom has got so much grip available to him relative to the BMW ahead of him. Where is he going to take him? Where is he going to go for a charge? Oh, the anxiety, the nervousness. Look at Hans-Jürgen Abt as he's on the pit wall now. There was a glint in his eye almost, wasn't there? Here comes Matthias Ekstrom then on Marco Wittmann. Wittmann is not going to yield, that's for sure. So Eki is going to have to do it the long way around.
It's not worked there, has it? Wittmann's just got enough there, but does Ekstrom get down the inside into the final corner? We're not too sure.
No, he wasn't. Eduardo Mortara this time, he doesn't weave, but he does take the checkered flag and he wins. Lucas Auer will take P2, and I think Marco Wittmann has done enough to take P3, despite a valiant effort by Matthias Ekstrom.
Last lap. Thanks for
Who
that.
takes P4. Look at the cheers there.
The pace was not fully good enough, and we were blocked by Mercedes and Audi in the race.
Right, can I bring you the rest of the order? Sorry. Look at Edo. He's doing some donuts. And this is exactly what we want to see. It's drivers being really, really chuffed to bits with what they've done and putting on a show.
But that's really kicked Mortara's championship charge into gear.
Of course it has.
Especially with Green's not had a great race. With the drive-through penalties actually dropped him down to 17th overall, so this might put Mortara into Audi's.
Take pickups, please, and remember the USB.
So, Mortara out. I will get to the top 10. I can't believe it was his radio message when he was on the penultimate lap. I'm just playing with you.
I think he's just covering himself.
Yeah, well, maybe so, but even you wouldn't do it on the anyway. Mortara P1, Auer P2, Wittmann P3. That's the podium. Then it was Ekstrom for P4, Muller for P5, Spengler P6, Paffett P7, Blomqvist P8. It was P9 for Juncker Deya and P10 for Molina. Hans-Jürgen Abt must be jumping for joy, Verena.
Well, he certainly is very, very happy and very thrilled. Congratulations to a fantastic race. Not only did Mortara win, but he's also now second in the championship, only 33 points behind Wittmann, so anything is possible from here.
I hope so, but Edo did a really great race. Also, the strategy from the team was perfect. We stayed long out and we had the pace, of course, but the team did a really good job. I'm really happy.
And you're a very happy man.
Of course, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hans-Jürgen Abt, and back to you.
Well done, Verena. Absolute what an end to that race. There is confirmation of the result. Eduardo Mortara takes the win. Lucas Auer P2, Marco Wittmann P3, Matthias Ekstrom P4. Then it was Muller, Spengler, Paffett, Blomqvist, Juncker Deya, Molina, Martin, and Scheider. Robert Wickens could only make it to P14, as you can see. And Jamie Green, P17, following that drive-through. So that, of course, really playing into the hands of Eduardo Mortara in terms of his championship charge, as you alluded to, Lee.
Didn't we also say during that race, Dave, that with Mortara staying out longest, he's getting clean air. Okay, he may not have been setting the pace absolutely alight, but Auer was in traffic, having pitted earlier, and that's ultimately what brought Auer and, of course, Wittmann back into play when Mortara eventually did pit.
Well, we watch Marco Wittmann, who has banked points for P3, but he's seen his margin eroded, and he's seen Mortara now up to P2.
Actually, I do think
it's great for us.
I do think Wittmann's actually quite fortunate that Eki had that lap where he had to give the position back to Spengler, because that was one lap less of Eki actually
chasing
Wittmann and possibly making a move on the championship leader.
Well, you're right, and it could have made all the difference as we watch Edo Mortara really rather inelegantly making his way out of the car, but he won't care about that because he's done the race, hasn't he? He's won the race.
And he won it quite comfortably in the end, 3.7 seconds, despite the ill-timed weaving on the at the end of the penultimate lap.
I just found the radio messages more entertaining. Eduardo Mortara atop the car then celebrates the fact that he has won the race. Oh, to heck with the door, he says. Can't be bothered to shut it.
I think Lucas Auer in second place. He's going to be happy to have the podium, but he's also going to be thinking about a win that got away again today. Yeah. And it was those laps when he got trapped behind Glock, when he got trapped behind Tombe. There's where he lost in 5 or 6 seconds there.
It costs, doesn't it? And Marco Wittmann being congratulated then. He is at least on the podium. Weighing going on.
Now, Dave, if you remember the end of yesterday's race, where Mortara gave the third position, back to Jamie Green, and they didn't get around to actually changing the flags on the podium in time. Do you think they'll actually have the
British flag?
Will they have the British flag instead this time?
Yeah, I don't know. Don't know. Oh, what a race! What a race! And something that you mentioned earlier on, almost inconceivable, is the fact that Paffett got turned around, didn't he?
He still finished P7.
He still finished P7.
And if you
one of his better finishes.
If you think about it, he lost possibly about 4 or 5 seconds, not just in the spin, but also in the recovery. And he probably actually had a bit of excess wear on the tyres as well because of the spin itself. So, you know, to still finish P7 is actually quite an effort from Gary. He'll still be disappointed, of course, but, you know, he started on the 6th row of the grid.
In the Drivers' Championship, Marco Wittmann on 170 points, Eduardo Mortara on 137 points, and Robert Wickens on 120, just 1 point ahead of Jamie Green. So Eduardo Mortara all of a sudden comes into the equation and into the game.
And interestingly enough, with this result today, with Mortara finishing third, or sorry, with Mortara winning and Wittens finishing third, the gap actually hasn't really changed too much from yesterday. Yes, Wickens has fallen out of the game somewhat, and so has Green. But all of a sudden, there's a new charger there, and this really all of a sudden the tension for this is going to build once we get to the Hungaroring in a couple of weeks' time.
That's fantastic. Of course, we all wanted to go right to the wire at Hockenheim, and it could yet still do that. Eduardo Mortara celebrates as we get that great shot of him crossing the line, and the checkered flag falling on the number 48 Audi. So the celebrations on the pit wall, as you would expect, and the celebrations inside the pit wall. And Jürgen out there pretty pleased about that. Sometimes has quite a grumpy demeanour, but today, not so. And there he is, congratulating his driver.
And the Mortara doing this celebratory burnout. It's
right in front of the Audi stand, the pit lane.
That's the spin that Mortara wants to do.
And that's what we want to see. We want to see celebrations like this.
Of course, we had a couple of little incidents in the race at the start with DeResta and Glock, and later on with Scheider and Wickens. But, you know, it's the clean drives, it's the hard drives that have actually winning the big points in these races.
Yes, you're right. But, has to be said, we love the incidents as well, don't we? From
but you can't ever claim these drivers aren't trying, because they really.
Yeah, you're right. Lucas Auer now with Verena.
So, Lucas, congratulations to a second place. You were fighting so hard, but in the end, I guess you just weren't strong enough against Audi in the end.
Yeah, at the beginning, I thought it's impossible to hold BMW back. It's impossible. First lap, I was already defending, giving everything what I've got. And then suddenly I got a gap, and I thought, hey, I'm still very fast. But then Edo just was on a different level, late pit stop, better tires, and a good car probably. So great job to him.
And great job to you as well. So congratulations to the second place, and back to you.
Thank you very much, Verena. So Lucas Auer then seemed happy enough, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he's reasonably pleased with his performance today, and so he should be. He's shown a great bit of maturity today, and he's taken second place on the podium for it.
Edo Mortara up to the top step then.
And Audi are going to be very pleased with their pace in the latter stages of that race as well. Once they made the pit stop, it all just came to them.
And there is Lucas Auer.
Damit kommen wir nun zur Ehre des Siegers zur italienischen
National anthem time. Dieter Gass and Stefan Moser down there looking pretty pleased, and so they should. Because the boy has done good.
It's actually a great return for this weekend for Edo. It's a win and a 4th place.
We've said all weekend long that the trophies here at the Nurburg Ring are magnificent. And these trophies on the...
It's impressive, isn't it? That is very large.
The holds it aloft, and rightly so. So there is Lucas Auer then. Just had a shot of Matthias Ekstrom down there, enjoying the podium celebrations as well, and he was also very nearly on it.
Having an ice cream instead of a instead of a bit of a champagne, you know.
Okay. So they all get together then for the mandatory photographs, and Mortara, Lucas Auer, and Marco Wittmann. Wow, what a race. What a race. And a packed pit lane down there to enjoy those celebrations that are going on atop the podium. And, right, photographs done and dusted. It's time for the bubbly to be sprayed. And they're all enjoying that celebration up there. Said we've had an eclectic mix of music that's been played at the Nürburg Ring. I was just trying to identify that one. Status quo a little while ago. Sorry, Lee.
Some very strange remixes of Level 42, I think you said it was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yes. So there we have it, Mortara, Auer and Wittmann up there on the podium. What a fantastic and a different couple of races we've had here at the Nürburg Ring. Up next we head off to the Hungaroring at Budapest, and then it is the season finale, of course, the 2 races to come at Hockenheim. So it is getting into the sharp end of the championship. Eduardo Mortara, he's done himself a power of good today. He's with Verena.
Edo, congratulations. You did a brilliant job coming from P6 to victory. You've got to be absolutely raving. Plus, it's all about the championship from now on as well.
I mean, championship. I mean, I lost already like so many points because of like decisions in the championship. In Zandvoort, we lost like some points, and afterwards, just enjoying the moment, to be honest. And this victory feels like the best, to be honest. We had some up and downs in the last race weekend, so. Yeah, I'm glad, you know, that we can finally, you know, snatch this first position for the team, for Audi, for me. And I want to dedicate actually this victory for my little child, you know, my little Sophia, for my wife. So first victory since she was born, so I'm very happy.
Congratulations to that, that's wonderful. And I'm looking forward to Budapest, because even though you're saying it's all about the victory, you can't tell me with 33 points behind Wittmann that you're not already in your head it's all about victory and the championship. You can't tell me that, Edo.
I mean, the best way, you know, to be honest with you, to fight in the championship is not to think about it, you know, just going for the victories. I must say that, you know, it's time to look, you know, a little bit better because we are quite light. And BMW, you know, is a little bit, you know, heavier than us, even if they are really, really strong. So now it's up to us, you know, to work very hard and just hope that it's going to work.
All right. Thank you so much, Edo. Enjoy the moment. And now I'm going to try to grab Wittmann. I don't know where he is because I can't see him from here. But you know what? In the end, we will find him, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe not. Let me just check for a second. Hat jemand Wittmann gesehen? I think he's gone. Well, in that case, why don't I just say bye-bye with the highlights and see you in Budapest. Bye-bye.